We have a list here, and the list basically is the following. These are the industries that we think are going to skyrocket. Hello everybody, welcome to Search. This week we will talk about the coronavirus and e-commerce and the effects that the coronavirus pandemic might have on your e-commerce business. So Joe, obviously in a situation like this, everybody panics. We've just experienced one of the largest drops in the stock market across the board of our lives. What do you say to people who are panicking about all of this? And we're specifically talking about e-commerce now, but it relates to other industries as well. What do you say to those people? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, first is the future is still uncertain, right? So don't make any rash decisions at this time. There's still a lot of things that need to pan out before we start to make any drastic changes. Now is the time to think ahead, think about long-term, think about what's going to happen, not only if this does start to impact your business, but what happens when it stops impacting your business. Where is your business going to be then? And another thing is look at the big retailers right now. Look at the big companies like Amazon, Walmart. What are they doing? Are they pulling back? They're not.
Yeah, Amazon is definitely not pulling back from their operations. If anything, they're looking for more suppliers. They're looking for more products because they understand the opportunity here. Again, an economic downturn is terrible, but the most amount of money is made in an economic downturn. So if your industry is, let's say, travel, hotels, event management, you got to get creative. If your e-commerce supply or if your e-commerce store depends on one of these industries that will be hit, for example, if you're only selling mirrors to hotels, you better start looking at other alternatives. So this is the time for you to start getting creative. But definitely a lot of the e-tailers out there, they're not pulling back. If anything, they're trying to see how do we capitalize on this. So from a business standpoint, let's mention some industries. Let's mention some opportunities. Who do you think has opportunity in an environment like this? If we were talking to these industries, we would say, you gotta pedal to the metal right now. You gotta start pushing your marketing, your optimizations, your operations, your supply. Who would those industries be?
I would say that any online retailer that sells any type of natural or organic health supplements or any type of health supplements, cleaning supplies, pet supplies, because again, we're going to see an increase in online shoppers, right? People who don't typically shop online will now be forced to start shopping online.
And people who shop online are going to shop more online because people are going to stop leaving their homes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So first, the ones that obviously have the most opportunity are going to fall into that necessity category, right? So whether it be, like I said, pet supplies,
immune boosters, if you sell any kind of supplements for the elderly, I think your stuff is going to skyrocket. If you sell any kind of organic sanitizers, and we have a list here, and the list basically is the following. These are the industries that we think are going to skyrocket. So if you are in any one of these industries, you have to really push it now, because what's going to happen is people are going to panic. Yes, there are some smart competitors of yours who are not going to panic, but let's be real. Most people are going to start panic. And when that happens, the ad spend drops. Facebook AdWords suddenly becomes affordable. The cost per click drops, right? So this is a great opportunity for you to steal market share from those competitors that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to catch. And this is exactly what you mean. So here's the list we have. Meal delivery companies, meal prep companies, because more people are going to order online. Natural and organic health supplements, any kind of immune boosters that you have, any kind of organic creams, supplements, anything really. Remember, it's fear now. At-home exercise hardware and software companies. I mean, Mirror, Peloton, these guys are gonna do a killing.
And SoulCycle
is coming out with their own bike, which probably they're late in the game. Any kind of organic sanitizers, cleaning supplies, and chemicals. The biggest problem with this industry is that most of the stock comes from China. So you're not going to be able to, or Asia, you're not going to be able to get raw materials. But look at Latin America. Latin America is fine. The supply in Latin America is fine for now. So if you need, raw vinegar, or if you need hydrogen peroxide, you're not going to get it from Asia turn to Latin America supplies right away. Online pet supplies, because people are going to buy these like crazy, and there's not going to be dog food soon on the shelters. On the shelves. This is what we are predicting. Remote teachers, remote education, because schools are going to be stopped. With that comes any kind of
online streaming
services, video games. People are going to attack the TV. You're going to be stuck in your home. You're going to have nothing else to do. And then disinfecting, cleaning services. Like, let's talk about some of the creative ideas in these industries. I mean, how about restaurants, Joe? Restaurants are screwed. What are they going to do?
So restaurants are now starting to get a little creative, right? So just the other day, I got an email from Perry's Steakhouse saying that, hey, get a to-go order, right? Pick up to-go order. And that's where they're kind of leaning towards. So they give you a coupon for your first to-go order just to try to get you to go and continue to dine, but not essentially dine in, takeout.
Yeah.
So they're going to do different means of trying to maintain their customer base by different methods, right?
Yeah.
So the takeout method is one. We're going to see a lot more of that. And I think
takeout, delivery.
Yeah.
And you got to be creative, like, maybe a 3-course dinner for $49.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Encourage people to take advantage of this, because people are going to keep living.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think that we're going to see kind of these restaurants kind of they're going to see a hit come from Uber Eats and Postmates because of that third party handling the food, right? So I think that people are going to feel a little bit more comfortable if they're the ones picking up the food themselves, where restaurants are going to be able to actually make a little bit more money, not having to utilize Uber Eats and Postmates. Got it.
And I was just speaking to a friend the other day who runs a cleaning service, and if you don't have employees, there's no cleaning service. Some of the stuff is going to be affected. And I was suggesting, look, for my office right now, if you came to me and if you said, hey, a few $100, deep disinfecting of your office once a week, I would take it. Deep disinfecting of your house once a week, I would take it. So again, things are not as bad right now as some of the cities in Italy are experiencing, but it might get there. And again, you got to look at the opportunity side of this, and you got to look at, what can I do to be proactive in this kind of an environment? Because panic is the worst thing for a business, unless you're in one of these industries. I mean, if you're running an airline, you should panic because nobody's going to fly.
Yeah.
If you are running a company that does buses, across cities, you should be panicking. If you're in event management, if you're doing any kind of event management or events, you better start looking at options like doing webinars, move it online. What can I do? How can I get creative? And guess what? Here is what's going to happen. Most of the ideas you come up with for visibility, it's going to come back to digital marketing. So digital marketing and visibility is more important than ever right now in this kind of an environment. And that's exactly what we want to portray to people with opportunities. But if you're in one of these industries that we mentioned, again, those are meal delivery, organic health supplements, at-home exercises, any kind of online streaming, video game, remote education, remote teachers, online pet supplies, you have a huge opportunity here, a huge upside. We already have clients in these industries that have increased with the current setup, maybe 150, 160% in sales. Yep. Anything else we didn't cover, Joe?
Well, I would like to talk about the e-commerce businesses that might not fall into these categories or would be considered a necessity, right? So this would be what would be considered to be luxury, right? So anything from apparel, anything from toys and things of that nature. Right now, we're not seeing an impact on these stores yet. So going back to what I said in the beginning, it is still too early. It's still uncertain what's going to happen. Do not make any rash decisions. If you do make a rash decision, you don't know if this thing may blow over. You just open the doors to all of your competitors, and trying to get back to that spot that you previously were at may never happen again. So again, calm down, settle down.
And as a business, and we run businesses, we run multiple operations. Optimum 7 is not our only business. You should always trim the fat. Every 90 days, you should trim the fat. But what we're saying is your marketing that brings you revenue and helps you pay the bills, and your e-commerce investments that you're doing as an e-commerce company, these are not fat. Fat is, if you had this person in the office that is not really generating revenue, cut that person because that's important, right? If you have maybe gym memberships for everybody in the office. Nobody's going to go to the gym. Cut that fat. That's fat. You should be cutting fat all the time. But this is very important. Don't cut marketing dollars. Don't cut eyeballs, and don't cut any technology investments that you have on your business, like e-commerce functionality, unless you go back to last year's revenue and last year's numbers. If you open up your analytics, compare past 30 days to previous year, and you start seeing that you're dropping below that line of last year revenue, then you should start looking at making serious cuts. Otherwise, we wouldn't advise. And even then, remember that you got to be very strategic about this, because we don't believe that this is going to be a long-term thing. We don't think this is something that's going to take 9, 12 months for people to get over. We're not experts. We're not medical experts. Nothing like that. But we don't think that. We think this is very hardcore panic right now, and it's at some places it's rightful panic.
Yeah.
But you can't panic about your business. You got to be smart. You got to be strategic. And that's it for this week. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll talk to you guys next week.